Okay, guys, on these two questions, or on these questions, we need to write the system of inequalities. But the way we're going to ask these particular questions, they're going to tell you to select all of the inequalities that belong to your three system inequality, system of inequalities. So let's begin by identifying these lines. So if we take a look at this line, I want to do it in blue first. It crosses the y-axis at -1, and it goes up 1, 2 over 1, up 2 over 1, up 2 over 1. It is a blue dotted line. Okay, so if it's going up 2 over 1, that means that the slope is 2. So you have y. Now, when I think of the symbol, it's not equal, because if it were y equals mx plus b, it'd be just a line, but it's obviously dotted and it's shaded below. So that would be a y is less than, and we did say that the slope is up 2 over 1, so that'd be a 2 over 1 with an x, but of course you don't put 2 over 1 with an x, you just say 2 with an x. You don't need the over 1. And it does cross the y-axis at -1, so the b value is -1, and that is your inequality. Y is less than 2x minus 1. There it is, y is less than 2x minus 1. So select that one for sure. Let's look at another one. This one right here is a solid line, and it's a horizontal line crossing the y-axis at -3, so that must be y is equal to -3 for the line, but we are shading and the shade is above. That shaded triangle is above, which means greater than. Now it is an or equal to because this red line is solid. Let's go for the last one in green. It crosses the y-axis at 2, and you're going down 1 over 1, down 1 over 1, down 1 over 1, down 1 over 1. As you can see, the slope is -1 over 1. It is a dotted line, and we are shading below. So since we're shading below, it's y is less than, not less than or equal to, because that's not a solid line. We did say that the slope was down 1 over 1, so it's not even necessary to put -1 over 1. You could just erase that and leave it as -x, right? So y is less than -x, and it crosses the y-axis at 2. The b value is at 2. So there's your inequality. Y is less than -x plus 2, and also y is greater than or equal to, that was the red one right here, y is greater than or equal to -3. So you'd be selecting those three inequalities. Now keep in mind that in the instructions it says it is possible that not all three will appear below. So you might only find the green one and the blue one and not the red one on the actual test. So this question is similar to a previous one. Actually has the same exact slope-intercept form inequalities, but the shading is different. So once again, let's take a look at this one that crosses the y at -1, and it goes up 2 over 1, up 2 over 1. It is dotted. Now the question is, so we know that the slope is up 2 over 1, so 2 over 1 with an x, but we don't even need 2 over 1 with an x, and we do know that it crosses the y-axis at -1, so the b value is -1. So once again, we don't even need 2 over 1. We could just write it as 2x, and that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to write it as 2x. Now normally, if it were just a line without shades, then it would be y equals 2x minus 1. But we could see that there is shading involved. Okay, so the question is, do we shade above this red dotted line or below this red dotted line? So obviously the shade's down here. Let's go to that part of the line. If I go to this, let's say this dot right here on the dotted red line, if I shade below, will I get to that shaded area? Or if I shade above? It's above, right? If I put my red dot right here on the red dotted line, if I shade below, or do I shade above to get to this shaded area? Obviously I'm shading above. That could be a little confusing, right? Again, if you're right here at the coordinate -2, -5, that's on the red dotted line. Is the shaded area above or is it below? It's above, right? If I were to extend it a little further, keep going that way, then it would be shaded over here as well. It'd be shaded all down here as well. So if you're here, the shade is not down here, it's up here. So this would be y is greater than kind of confusing, right? Y is greater than 2x minus 1. So that is that red dotted line. It is shaded above the red dotted line. But of course, it has another line stopping it. So that is y is greater than 2x minus 1. That answer is right here. So you would definitely select that one. Let's move on to another one. Let's do this one in blue. Crosses at 2. You go down 1 over 1, down 1 over 1, down 1 over 1. So this dotted blue line is y said down 1 over 1. That's just negative x, and it crosses at 2. But the question is it less than? Is it greater than? Is it less than or equal to, greater than or equal to? Obviously, it's dotted, so it's not going to be less than or equal to. It's not going to be greater than or equal to. But let's think about where this shade is at. This shade, is it below the blue dotted line or above the blue dotted line? To get to down here, you'd have to go below the blue dotted line. So that would be a less than symbol. So that's y is less than negative x plus 2. Y is less than negative x plus 2. That would be that one right there. And last but not least, let's do this one in green. It's a solid line, a solid horizontal line crossing the y-axis at negative 3. If it were just a line, it would be y equals negative 3. But we do have some shading involved. It is shaded below that green solid line. So that would be a less than or equal to. Again, the or equal to just means that that line is solid. So y is less than or equal to negative 3. Now, again, in the instructions, it says it is possible that not all three will appear. So you're looking for this one, but it's not that one. This implies a dotted line, so you would not select that one. So out of the 3 inequalities in our system of inequalities, these are the only 2 that you would select. Do not select this one because it would have to have an or equal to in order for it to be part of this system. Okay?